The Midshipmen of Navy, famous for hard-hitting rock'em sock'em football, open up their home schedule against a traditional rival, the Indians of William and Mary. After intercepting a pass early in the first period, Navy begins to move as Joe Cattuso skirts right in for a 15-yard gain to the 47. George Welsh, calling the signals at quarterback for the Middies, pitches out to Jack Yarrow, who makes his way into Indian land, and it's a 7-yard gain for Navy. Bobby Craig, a promising second-classman, now gets a chance to show his stuff. The fleet-footed halfback knifes his way through the guard slot, but Doug Henley's great tackle keeps him from scoring. Navy's great running attack lives up to preseason notices as Jack Yarrow moves the ball deeper into William and Mary territory. The G-men are on the march for the Middies. Joe Cattuso hits right tackle and makes it to the 10-yard line. The Indian forward wall can't seem to stop the onrushing Middies as they go to the 5 on a plunge by Jack Yarrow. First down and goal to go. The honors are given to Yarrow, who rams across for the initial score of the game. George Texter adds the extra point, and at the quarter it's Navy 7-0 over William and Mary. In the second period, the Indians take to the air. Quarterback Charlie Sumner fades to his own 30. Fires to Junior Duff on the 36. Duff makes it over the midfield stripe and is finally driven out of bounds on the Navy 45. Keeping a good thing going, Sumner again teams up with Duff. This time, the pass play puts William and Mary on the Middies 34. Leading the Indian attack, Sumner calls for a change in strategy by handing off to Duff, who picks up 5 yards. Now the Indian advance comes to a halt as Jack Yohe bobbles Sumner's lateral, and John Hopkins pounces on the loose pigskin to give Navy possession on their own 35. Watch closely now, for here comes the play of the game. Number 44, Bobby Craig, starts around right end. Craig hops over one man, stiff arms another, and then gets some beautiful downfield blocking to enable him to go all the way for another Navy touchdown. This 65-yard run and Texter's conversion makes it 14-0. It isn't long before the Middies have the ball again. This time, Bobby Hepworth gets the assignment from his own 15 and then proceeds to pick up 35 yards before he's brought down at midfield. Once into Indian country, the future Admirals roll up the yardage as Hepworth continues to lead the attack with an 18-yard gain. The heap-big Indians of William and Mary can't get Hep to Hepworth as he makes it to the 5 before a host of tacklers finally bring him down. On the next play, George Welsh decides to try the air lanes in search of another score. But Walt Herman intercepts for William and Mary, and the Navy threat is halted. Moments later, the clock runs out, and at halftime, the scoreboard reads Navy 14, William and Mary nothing. After a scoreless third period, the last quarter starts off with another exciting run by Navy's Bobby Craig. The fast-stepping midshipman scampers 56 yards to cross the final stripe, only to have the potential touchdown nullified because of a clipping penalty. But Navy is soon on the march again, with John Weaver now at quarterback, performing the football version of the Mambo and threading his way to the Indians' 33 before going out of bounds. Working their way to the 24, the Middies move into scoring position again as Weaver passes to Ronnie Beagle, complete to the 10-yard line. Bobby Craig continues to be a thorn in the Indian side as he brings the ball to the 5. It's now third down, but 2 yards to go. Fullback Joe Cattuso slashes through left guard and into pay dirt to put Navy ahead 21-0. The Indians can't seem to move against the strong Navy squad, and they're in punt formation deep in their own territory. Junior Duff can't get it away, and the Middies take over on the 5. 2 plays later, Chester Burkett sneaks into the end zone for the final touchdown of the game. In downing William and Mary 27-0, Navy gets off to a booming start on its 1954 season. The undefeated record of Navy, one of the top teams in the nation, is being put to test against the Panthers of Pittsburgh. Tom Hamilton, present athletic director at Pitt and formerly of the Naval Academy, is acting head coach today for the ailing Red Dawson. The teams are lined up for the opening kickoff. Joe Cattuso is booting for Navy. It's an onside kick. There's a mad scramble for the ball. Navy recovers and takes possession with a first down on the Pitt 45. Bobby Craig immediately picks up 7 yards as the Middies show off their bruising ground attack. The Middies penetrate still deeper into Panther property as Joe Cattuso carries to the 22 before stepping out of bounds. Again, the pile-driving Cattuso hits the middle of the Pitt line, and this time goes all the way to the 7. It's goal to go for Navy. Now in slow motion, watch the expert ball handling of quarterback Dick Eckert as he hands off to Bobby Craig, who carries within 1 yard of the touchdown. On the next play, Joe Cattuso has plenty of room through tackle to go for the score. The Middies failed on the extra point try, but jump into a quick 6-0 lead. Late in the period, the Panthers are deep in their own section of the field, but not for long as Corny Salvaterra pitches to Fred Glatz, who is on his way to completing a 63-yard play that puts the Panthers on the Navy 33. A spirited Pitt team helps Bobby Greer move 7 more to the 26. Then Henry Ford makes the first down and then some by lugging the leather to the 20. A few moments later, the quarter ends, but Pittsburgh's march continues to the 1. The fans call for the touchdown, and Corny Salvaterra answers with a quarterback sneak into the end zone to tie the game. Bagameri kicks the extra point, and Pittsburgh has a 7-6 advantage. The Midshipmen take the ensuing kickoff, but Eckert fumbles. Glatz recovers, and Pittsburgh takes over. Corny Salvaterra, a sophomore playing only his second collegiate game, passes like a master to Bobby McQuaid for a first down on the Pitt 23. It's a 6-foot, 190-pound Salvaterra again tossing true to the mark. Henry Model T. Ford is on the receiving end, and the Panthers take a surprising 14-6 lead over the Middies. After an exchange of punts, it's Pittsburgh's Pete Neff trying to pass the Panthers out of the danger zone. But Bobby Hepworth pilfers the pitch, and it's Navy's ball on the Pittsburgh 24. All it takes is a right play. Apparently Dick Eckert and Jack Garrow have it as they team up for the tally. The Navy still can't seem to find the uprights for the conversion, and at halftime, Navy trails Pittsburgh 14-12. The score remains the same through the third and into the fourth quarter, where Navy runs into trouble. Eckert fumbles, and Pittsburgh takes over on the Navy 13. The Panthers move 6 yards closer to a score on a drive up the middle by Tom Jenkins. Corny Salvaterra then becomes the star of the day for the Panthers as he figures in their 3rd touchdown of the afternoon. The 3rd extra point, and Pittsburgh increases its lead 21-12 over the undefeated Middies. A determined Navy squad takes the kickoff and begins to march in an effort to catch the fired-up Panthers. Jack Garrow takes George Welsh's pass for an 18-yard advance to the Pittsburgh 47. Welsh then picks out Bobby Hepworth as a receiver, and this time the play is worth a first down on the 34. The future Admirals need more than just 1 touchdown to keep their unblemished record intact and continue to eat up big chunks of yardage as Hepworth goes to the 14. On this play, George Welsh throws a jump pass into the waiting arms of Jimmy Owen for a first down on the Pittsburgh 4. The Middies climax an 80-yard drive by sending Bobby Hepworth around in for the touchdown. This time the Navy converts, but the ones the Middies missed earlier spell the difference as Navy is pushed off the list of the undefeated by the Pittsburgh Panthers 21-19. The United States Naval Academy's Brigade of Midshipmen holds forth at Franklin Field in Philadelphia, where the once-beaten Navy 11 will attempt to make the Pennsylvania Quakers their fourth victim in 1954's football wars. One of the top teams in the East, the only blemish on Navy's record is a 2-point upset defeat by Pittsburgh. The Middies haven't been able to defeat Pennsylvania since 1945, and Middie coach Eddie Erdelatz is looking for his first victory over the red and blue. In the opening period, it's Pennsylvania's ball, but not for long, as Joe Callahan and Walt Kainoski miss connections on a handoff, and Navy captain Phil Monahan recovers on the Quaker 14. Navy fullback Dick Guest bulls his way to the Penn 1. George Welsh on a quarterback sneak pushes into the end zone, and it's Navy 7, Penn nothing. Midshipman George Texter kicks off. Now watch this. Stan Chaplin pulls in the bouncing pigskin, and away he goes. Chaplin jars the Tars with a sensational 79-yard touchdown return. The Quakers fail to convert, and they trail 7-6. The aroused Middies weigh anchor in retaliation. Bill Hepworth skirts right end for 13 yards. Phil Monahan steams 14 yards around the other end, and Navy is on the Penn 31. It's all engines ahead full, and Navy, with Bill Hepworth carrying, cruises 26 yards to a touchdown. It's the Midshipmen 13-6 over the Quakers. A keen and impressed observer is Notre Dame line coach Bill Moose Fisher, who is scouting Navy and Pennsylvania, Notre Dame's next two opponents. It's the second quarter now, but the same story. The Middies on the move again. Jolting Joe Cattuso rumbles 25 yards. Bob Craig cracks over left tackle and isn't stopped until he hits the Penn 44. John Weaver weaves his way through the Quakers secondary for 13 yards, and it's goal to go for the Navy. Joe Cattuso bends the Penn line for the final 2 yards, and at the end of the first half, Navy leads Pennsylvania 20-6. The Naval Air Force swings into action in the third quarter as George Welsh hits Bill Smith with a jump pass good for 12 yards. Beautiful ball handling and a letter-perfect pass from George Welsh to Bill Smith crosses the Quakers and adds up to another Navy score. The Middies lead now 26-6. Things go from bad to worse for the Pennsylvanians as Neil Highland bobbles the ball in the backfield. Midshipman Jim Royer wraps himself around the pigskin, much to the chagrin of Quaker coach Steve Seabold. Navy's big gun, signal caller George Welsh, unleashes another broadside salvo as he fires a direct hit to Ron Beagle in the end zone. This makes it Middies 33, Quakers 6. When Pennsylvania's Walt Kainoski drops a fourth down pass from center, the aggressive Navy forward wall, which held Penn to a minus 29 yards rushing, is quick to smother Kainoski on the Penn 1-yard line, where the Tars take over. From this point on, it's a routine affair for Joe Cattuso, whose second 6-pointer swells Navy's lead to 40-6 over Penn at the end of the third quarter. The fourth quarter finds the Quakers with their backs to the wall again, and Joe Callahan punts out from the end zone. Paul Gober returns the boot 12 yards to the red and blue 34. Chester Burchett gets loose around right end for 11 yards to the Penn 18. Navy firepower riddles the Quaker defense as Dick Eckert shoots a pass to Chester Burchett that goes for a touchdown. The Middies score again as Navy, with a great display of offensive power, sinks Pennsylvania 52-6 for the most decisive victory in the 67-year history of this traditional rivalry. To all this, Navy's mascot, Billy the Goat, has 2 words to say: Beat Army. The 28th renewal of the Navy-Notre Dame game, the longest uninterrupted intersectional series in collegiate football, attracts a sellout crowd to Baltimore's Memorial Stadium, where these 2 once-beaten but nationally ranked teams will meet. Navy coach Eddie Erdelatz, looking for his first win over Notre Dame, will match strategy against Terry Brennan for the first time. Sharp-shooting passer George Welsh will direct the Middy attack, while the Irish will be counting heavily on their brilliant quarterback, Ralph Guglielmi. After receiving the opening kickoff, Notre Dame drives downfield. Paul Reynolds on a crossbuck picks up 9 yards. The Ramblers roll on as Reynolds races to the Navy 37. Fullback Don Schaefer hammers his way through the Navy defense for 9 more yards. Ralph Guglielmi spots a flaw in Navy's air defense and riddles it with a 7-yard heave to Joe Heap. It's Reynolds with the ball, and the Middies moan as they watch Pounding Paul maul the Navy forward wall for 8 more yards. The Tars brace to halt the Irish pace. Guglielmi's 4th down pass is broken up by Dick Guest. The Notre Dame threat is turned back, and it's a scoreless game at the end of the first quarter. Second period now, and Notre Dame, with Don Schaefer doing the damage, moves to the Middies 49. On a keeper play, Guglielmi adds 4 yards to the Irish cause. Ralph Guglielmi turns on the heat and gives the crowd a neat treat. Jim Moore shags his toss, stays on his feet, and it's a 46-yard touchdown. Score at halftime, Notre Dame 6, Navy nothing. The Midshipmen come on strong in the second half. George Welsh passes to Hound Beagle for 7 yards. On the option play, Welsh keeps giving Notre Dame the creeps as he seeps through the secondary to the Irish 38, and the Midshipmen love it. Welsh goes airborne and connects on a toss to Ron Beagle that's worth 12 yards. With the eye of an eagle, George Welsh whips a pass to Ron Beagle, and Navy is on the Notre Dame 12. The Ramblers push the Middies back to the 19, and on 4th down, Welch goes all the way. Irishman Limick, Morris, and Guglielmi break up the play, and Navy is stopped. Notre Dame takes over, but the luck of the Irish runs thin as Don Schaefer fumbles a pigskin, and midshipman Len Benzie recovers on the Notre Dame 13. The Tars take to the air on a toss from Welch to Beagle that puts the ball in the Irish 6. George Welch on a sneak play is stopped by Ralph Guglielmi, inches short of a touchdown. The entire brigade of midshipmen is in an uproar as Welch calls the signal. Now watch closely. There's a fumble by Bob Craig, and Guglielmi saves the day for Notre Dame as he dives on the loose ball for a touchback. After 3 periods, it's still Notre Dame by a narrow 6-0 edge. In the final period, Navy cruises deep into Notre Dame territory on a pass from George Welch to Jack Garrow. George Welch, playing an inspired game, passes downfield. But Ralph Guglielmi, a demon on defense all day, intercepts to turn back another Navy assault. Coach Erdelatz is sweating this one out. The Middies take over again, and their battle wagon weighs anchor on a screen pass from Welch to Guest that gets 14 yards. Jack Weaver on a quick opener cuts through the Irish for 9 more yards. With the ball in the Irish 32, Welsh throws down and out to Bill Smith. But Notre Dame's Paul Honog makes a leaping interception, and that is all for the Navy. Notre Dame runs out the clock, and the Irish retain their national prestige as they tame a game Navy team 6-0 in one of the season's most exciting games.
The grand and glorious climax to the collegiate football season is the top classic of them all, the annual Army-Navy game. As the West Point cadets come marching into Municipal Stadium at Philadelphia, they are rated slight favorites for this, the 55th meeting of the two service teams. But everyone knows there are no real favorites for this battle. Although Army has lost only one contest and Navy only two, the outcome of this clash means a successful season for the victor. And that's the way the big game is played. 102,000 spectators are crammed into the stadium to watch the colorful pageantry and the violent football action as the cadets and midshipmen prepare to do battle in what should be the game of the year. As host team, the midshipmen are the last to take the stand. The arrival of Bill the Goat, Navy's mascot, and the Army Mule completes the festivities, and the serious business begins. With Army trying to move from its own 24, Tom Bell slashes off tackle, fumbles, and Jim Royer recovers for Navy to give the Middies the first break of the game. The brigade of midshipmen howl, go, 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 and quarterback George Welsh does his best as he swings to the left and cuts back to sweep the Army 12-yard line. The Middies uncork a play they've been saving all season. A double fake into the line fools just about everybody. Welsh polishes off the play by passing to Bob Craig, and Craig crashes into the end zone as the Navy gets away in front of the cadets 7-0. Army sets out immediately to prove it can move. Quarterback Pete Van lofts over the heads of the in-rushing Middies to Pat Ubel, and Pat powers down the sideline for Army's first penetration of Navy territory. The cadets carve their way to the 26 through the Middy line. Pat Ubel shows how it's done as he slams over center for 5 yards. First down, Army. Van gives the ball to Bell, and Bell bangs for 5 more to the Navy 15. On the 6th, Navy goes to an 8-man line in an attempt to stop Army's inside attack. Van has the answer as he sends Tom Bell to the outside, and Bell rings up an Army tally. The cadets trail by 1. Chesnauskas boots. No good, and at the end of the first quarter, Navy has a narrow 7-6 lead over Army. Navy opens one of the wildest quarters in the history of the Classic as John Weaver takes a pitch out and gallops around right end for 23 yards to put the Middies on the Army 25. Bobby Craig tries his luck with the other end and gets all the way to the 7 before Bob Kayaski hauls him out of bounds. After losing ground on running plays, George Welsh hustles back and hurls a 3rd down pass into the arms of Bill Smith, and Navy hits the scoreboard again. Now it's Navy 14, Army 6. Army has Navy bottled up in its own territory. Dick Guest attempts to punt. He fumbles the low pass from center. The ball gets away, and a covey of cadets give chase, with Don Hollader flopping on the ball to put Army in business on the Navy 3. With the happy cadets chanting for a score, Pat Jubel delivers by driving over guard. Army chalks up 7 points, and Navy leads by a slender 14-13. Navy attempts to pass for insurance as George Welsh winds up and throws, but Army's Pat Jubel cancels the policy with a sparkling interception that he brings back 23 yards to the Navy 42. Peter Van, West Point's fearless passer, attempts one of his few aerials of the afternoon. Bob Kayaski is way downfield to pull it in and lunge over the goal line to put the cadets in the lead for the first time late in the second quarter. Army 20, Navy 14. But the hard-hitting future Admirals come steaming right back. John Weaver, on the same play that sparked Navy's second scoring drive, turns right end on a dazzling dash to the Army 27. Joe Gattuso, the Navy's answer to the Patton tank, pile drives for 7 yards before 5 cadets stop him. Navy coach Eddie Erdelatz adds all the body English he can to the midi attack. George Welsh calls his own number, hides the ball, and slides back to pass. He throws down and out to Jim Owen, who hangs on as he goes out of bounds on the Army 1. George Welsh plunges over for the final stripe, and the game is all tied up at 20-20 with the clock showing just 45 seconds to play in the first half. John Weaver, who never before today had attempted to kick a conversion in a game, adds his third straight, and the Navy leads at halftime 21-20 over the Black Knights of the Hudson. Midway in the third quarter, the Middies inaugurate another touchdown cruise. Weaver hits the line for 5 yards. Quarterback Welsh sends Bob Craig racing to the outside to pick up a first down on the Army 21. Welsh, who all afternoon came up with the right play when it was needed, comes up with still another as he pitches to Bill Smith, who thunders into the end zone to put the Navy on top of a 27-20 score. The Navy defense proves just as potent as the Middies stall a late Army threat to subdue the cadets 27-20 in one of the greatest games seen anywhere this season. As a disappointed Red Blake congratulates Navy coach Eddie Erdelatz, the Middies accept the bid to play Mississippi in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day.
The grand and glorious climax to the 21st Annual Sugar Bowl Classic is the Navy-Mississippi game. 84,000 spectators cram every section of the huge bowl for the Navy's first postseason appearance in 30 years, and only the second in the Academy's history. The smartly dressed midshipmen thrill the crowd, as well as their superintendent, Rear Admiral Walter F. Boone, and his wife. Ole Miss, the undisputed champions of the Southland, takes the field a slight favorite. Coach Johnny Vaught led his Rebels to 9 victories in 10 games, losing only to Arkansas in a 6-0 upset. The Middies, winners of the Lambert Trophy, symbolic of Eastern gridiron supremacy, lost only to Pittsburgh and Notre Dame. The Navy Goat bowled over the Army Mule in one of the season's outstanding games, and Middy coach Eddie Erdelatz is hoping his Charges will play against Mississippi as they did against Army. All senior members of the Ole Miss squad meet with the Navy captain, Phil Monahan. Navy wins the toss. After receiving the opening kickoff, the Middies are on the move. George Welsh chucks to Ron Beagle, and Navy is on the Rebel 46. Rock'em sock'em, Joe Gattuso picks up 6 yards. George Welsh on a keeper play races to the Rebels 30. This looks like the same play, but Welsh laterals to Jack Weaver, who weaves his way to the Mississippi 3. The spirited midshipmen are playing inspired football. Fullback Joe Gattuso caps a 70-yard Navy drive by pulling into the end zone, and the midshipmen lead mighty Mississippi 7-0 at the end of the first period. Navy weighs anchor in the second quarter as Jack Weaver carries into Rebel territory. The Naval Air Force swings into action on a 15-yard pitch from George Welsh to Jack Weaver. Watch this play closely. On fourth down, Welsh passes to All-American end Ron Beagle, who makes a diving catch right at the goal line. The field judge indicates a touchdown, but the head linesman explains to Coach Erdelatz that he was in a better position to call the play. It's ruled no score, and the Rebels hold. So at halftime, the count stands Navy 7, Mississippi nothing. During the first half, Ole Miss failed to get out of its own territory and gained only 71 yards as compared to 188 yards gained for the Navy. Star Rebel quarterback Eagle Day receives instructions from Johnny Vaught before the start of the second half. But it's the Middies doing the attacking, with Welsh passing 10 yards to Earl Smith. Navy cruises deeper into Ole Miss waters as Jack Weaver rushes to the Rebel 29. On 4th and 7, Navy goes all the way. George Welsh whips an aerial bomb into the end zone, where Jack Weaver makes a sensational catch for a Navy touchdown. Middie rooters are beside themselves, with Navy holding a 14-0 margin. Later, Navy's battle wagon builds up still more steam as Jolden Joe Gattuso gains 21 yards. It's Gattuso again, and the bulldozing back is good for 10 before he fumbles, and it's a hot potato. Wilson Whitmire finally recovers for Navy on the Ole Miss 34. Rebel coach Johnny Vaught sends in defensive reinforcements, but to no avail. Jack Weaver on the pitch-out play that has worked to perfection all day picks up 21 yards. Joe Gattuso, selected by the sports writers as the game's most valuable player, rips off a 19-yard gain, and it's goal to go for the Navy. Navy's big gun, Joe Gattuso, booms across with the Middies' third score of the game, and the Middies lead Mississippi 21-0 going into the fourth quarter. Late in the game, Navy is torpedoed as Dick Corzep's pass is picked off by Paige Cothran, who returns 14 yards to the Middies' 36. For the first time today, Rebel rooters have something to shout about. Mississippi makes its deepest penetration into Navy waters as Houston Patton passes to Bobby Fisher on the Sailors' 17. The Rebel attack comes to a screeching halt when Paige Cothran fumbles. Ed Mallon recovers to stifle the only Ole Miss scoring opportunity. A disappointed Mississippi team watches the clock run out and absorbs a convincing 21-0 beating by a spirited Navy 11. Coaches Johnny Vaught and Eddie Erdelatz shake hands. It's a great day for a great Navy team and a genuine Sugar Bowl classic.